Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I am here to talk about Loki Episode 3. Now, so far in the last 2 episodes of Loki, it's been pretty unanimously praised. Both episodes have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Basically everybody, even if they don't think it's fantastic, still think it's good. It's good from fantastic, you know? It's kind of like the Black Widow reviews where it's like, it's either a really good movie or it's a great movie. And, you know, that's kind of the general, and then you got a couple of people like, oh, this is terrible. But, you know, that's few far in between. There's like 2-3 people, and the people who think that it's not good are people I've never even heard of before. But I digress. Falcon and the Winter Soldier had an episode very similar to this one where I came out of this and I was like, that was a blast, that was fun, and I had a good time with it. I had a good time with the characters, I had a good time with the banter, I had a good time with the way they were with the world and the stuff I'm learning. It was a fun episode. It was the one where they with the Madripoor. I made a whole video about Madripoor. And then it turns out, like, coming out of that I didn't realize a lot of people didn't like that Madripoor episode. A lot of people thought it was filler. A lot of people thought it was either filler or was not that good. And now we're going back to the Mandalorian where, oh my god, like the whole filler thing with the Mandalorian was crazy. And now we're back at it again. There are so huge people who really didn't. John Gambia didn't like this. Jeremy Johns didn't like this. There was a lot of people who were really against this episode, which I don't quite get, because this episode to me was more fun. It was a change of pace, but it was more fun than the last 2 episodes. And like, in terms of what I mean by fun is seeing these characters bounce off of each other on a alien planet with all this alien technology, and this world's about to end and the moon's about to crash, and there's a Loki talking to another Loki. That Loki's a female Loki. They discover things about each other. We discover things about Loki. We discover things about the TVA. It was a fun episode, and I don't know how people thought this was gonna go, but for me, I had a lot of fun with this episode. Like, I think this episode, personally, what was I going to say? I think this episode, I don't know if it's better than the first episode, but I do think it's better than the second episode. This episode's probably, like, you know, if I was ranking them, it'd be my second favorite episode of the show. It's probably one of the most fun episodes because, first of all, for the people who are saying that this episode was filler, I'm not quite understanding that. Not only did you learn more about the female Loki, or Sylvie as she likes to be called, you learned about her, you learned more about Loki. It turns out, one small tidbit that I didn't think that was a big of a deal to me personally, but I'm not inclined to care about that personally, was turning out that Loki was bisexual. Well, Loki's not really bisexual so much as he's gender fluid. He's not even gender fluid. He's fucking fluid. He could be a snake. Like he could be anything, you know. It's gender, animal, whatever he wants to be. He could just be it. But he's gender fluid in that he has had both male and female lovers. But if you are someone who read the comics, if you're someone who knows Norse mythology, that's not a big deal to you. That's not a shocker to me. I'm a mythology person. I'm a comic book person. So Loki being bisexual isn't that big of a deal to me. I've already known that. I've always known that. I mean, look at the guy's style, the way he is, just the fluent changing between male and female and animals. I mean, yeah, of course he would be like, you would imagine a young Loki would have had many different kind of lovers. So that wasn't a big deal to me. But that was a deal. It was something that was out there. It's something that it's a big deal to a lot of people. So that's a deal, you know. That's something we discover. We discover how her mind control powers work. How her hexing, well, not hexing, what was the word? How her enchantments work. We discover how that works. How she can reach into people's minds and like take memories and try to coax them into giving her information that she needs to touch you to get that to happen. We see the temperaments and how different the Lokis are. How she seems to be more aggressive and Loki seems to be more of a schemer. While she's like a planner, but she's more of aggression. Like, she's a better fighter. She's probably a better hand-to-hand fighter than he is. How she doesn't carry a dagger, she carries like this short sword. How in her world, when they're having a conversation about, you know, Loki's mother, she can barely remember Frigga, while Loki remembers all this stuff with Frigga, and she teaching him magic, while Sylvie doesn't remember her mother. In fact, Loki talks about how, oh, they told me, it turns out I was adopted. And, oh, I hope I didn't spoil anything for you. And she was just like, oh, no, they told me. Which means she had a totally different relationship than Loki did. Minor spoilers, they put out a promo for the upcoming episode 4, which heavily hints to something that I suspected and made me feel good. Because in this episode, I was like, okay, she's a variant Loki. But I get the vibe that she was a variant that, that kind of what's the word I'm looking for, that diverted way earlier than Loki. Like, because all the other variants you see in the little image are like Lokis who look like Tom Hiddleston, or look like they're older, look like it's like, okay, that's weird. But she seems to be a diverted, like a Loki who not only was he born a girl, not only was he born a woman, but she was also turned into, but like he had a totally different relationship with her parents. So this Loki is different than Loki. It is Loki, but it's not Loki. It's like, it's weird. So I'm curious to see how that explored, and they kind of did give away that, that is exactly what's true, because you see it was just a glimpse, but you see a TV agent walking through a door with a little girl with black hair, which, by the way, some people were like, why is she blonde? And this is something I've noticed that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about. There's a lot of stuff given up, which is, yes, clearly she's not traditionally blonde. If you could see it, her roots are black and it's kind of coming out. You can see black in there, which means she should have black hair. So yeah, she is a Loki with the whole 9 yards. But the biggest thing we discover is the rumor, not the rumor, but the speculation that a lot of people had come to the conclusion to, but we couldn't know for sure. Yes, the TVA agents, Mobius, all of them are variants, which makes sense because I was thinking to myself, I was like, what can they do with these people? Like, how many, like, they have all these variants, and they basically, it's like, and they have a judge, they have a courtroom, a judge, so it's like, there has to be more than just one or two rulings. I mean, there has to be a lot of options, and one of the options that I figured had to be, why wouldn't you just keep them and make them TVA agents? Turns out that is indeed an option. So now we know for a fact that all of the TVA agents are indeed variants. But not only are they variants, but someone has tampered with their minds to make it so that even Sylvie, as powerful as a magician, as she kept saying, powerful at magic as she is, she had to really work to get through the fog in that one Minuteman's head just to get in there and find her memories and use them. Because whatever the TVA, whatever the timekeepers are doing, whatever they're doing, they're putting a whammy on people's minds and making them forget, which makes logical sense. It makes sense because if you've noticed, and it's kind of one of those things, if you know what you know, that Mobius is constantly talking about things from the 90s, from the way he looks, from the way he dressed, from the soda he drinks. He drinks a Josta Cola, which was like a fucking Coca-Cola, or I can't remember if it was a Coca-Cola or Pepsi brand drink that was in the mid-90s. He talks about the jet ski, and the jet ski came out somewhere in the 90s. So like, it's clear that Mobius was a variant from the 90s. They erased his memory so that they could keep him, so that he can work for them, but he's still, deep down, he's still that person, which is why he's into certain aspects of being that, of, the 90s aspects. I'm curious of how this is going to go down. It was a great cliffhanger. First of all, I love this actress playing Sylvie. She's just so brazen and nasty, and just like, she's like the opposite of Loki. Like, she's the opposite. She's like, she's a different take. Because she has this mischievous side, but it's more aggressive and raw. Whereas Loki is kind of a smile and a wink guy. She seems to be just like let's do this kind of person. But it's clear that they had totally different upbringings, which is why she's so different than he is. But yeah, them bouncing off of each other was great, man. Like I said, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I enjoyed them bouncing off of each other. The funny thing thing is, I don't think people would have called this filler if it was Loki and Mobius here. They wouldn't have called it that. They would have been just like, oh well, I got to see that. But I dug her. I think she's cool. I like like I said, she's a slightly different version of Loki. I had fun with it, especially with them tit for tatting each other, trying to control each other, trying to manipulate both one another, but also starting to feel something for one another, starting to feel some type of bond. And like that's what this episode was really about at the end of the day, is so that these two characters can have time to get to know each other, so that we could so that us, the audience, could get a feel for Sylvie, so that way they could just go head on. They could just, you know, keep just shot, because they don't got to stop and be like, well, because us as the audience, this is what would have happened if they would have just like jumped around. It would have just been plot. It wouldn't have been character. This whole episode was about character and the craziness of there being two Lokis and them bouncing off of each other with a lot of inspirations from not Blade Runner, I know this one. Damn it, Snowpiercer, from a lot of, like, from Snowpiercer with the train, from many different aspects of this was really cool. The last 7-minute shot of them running through the city as this moon. The planet's crashing into the moon. As pieces of this planet's falling off on this moon, and people are screaming and running, and shit's falling apart, and it's crazy. The last 10 minutes is worth the price of admission alone. Like, honestly, the last 10 minutes is worth the price of admission alone. But I don't get some of the people's hates. I think this episode's a 9. I think it's just as good. I think it's like a 9.5 to me. It's just as good as the first episode. Not as good. No. It's not as good as the first episode. Just as good as the second episode. I don't know what you're talking about here. This is character stuff. But like I said, like this is the same thing that happened in The Mandalorian. Same shit happened where like there'd be these fun character, like, you know, character growth, character things like episodes where they're a little isolated and people are like, oh, filler. I'm like, good lord, you just can't have a good time. If you think this is filler, you are way too, like, you just plot. Literally, you would have bagged on this thing for being too plotty. And now you take a step back from the plot to get into the characters and let these characters breathe and let these characters interact with one another, and to allow you to get to know the new Loki character we're introduced to, get a better understanding of how their dynamic's gonna be, and you get more information on Loki, and to get a little bit of tidbit near the tail end. And it ends on this cool cliffhanger of the ship getting destroyed, and it's just like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Like I said, I'm not sure I get the freaking, you know, how people are feeling, and I know I'll get some jackass in the comments, you're a Marvel shield. Fuck you. I know you hate Marvel because they're successful. You're going to keep hating. Keep commenting because you're going to be around a lot longer than whatever you like. Anyways, I dug the shit out of this episode. It was high octane. We got a lot of funny moments, especially bouncing with those two bouncing off of each other. We got a lot of information. Not only did we get smaller information, Loki's bisexual. Bigger information, how her powers work. The biggest information is that the TVA is made up of variants, which means someone is lying. And we gonna find out next episode. Tom Hiddleston, for a minor thing, Tom Hiddleston did say that his favorite episode was episode 4 and 5. So he said it. He said that episode 4 and 5, he's like, I can't wait to see how people react to episode 4 and 5. So I can't wait to see how people react to episode 4 and 5. Next week can't get here any sooner. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Move Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.